Hello there, my name is Solmaz, and you're listening to Tabling Thoughts podcast. In this podcast, I talk about my experiences as a relationship coach and psychotherapist. The little things that I noticed in my clients' day to day lives, which may affect the quality of their lives and relationships enormously, and for some reasons, they don't pay that much of attention to them. As I mentioned, I'm a relationship coach and I also practice as a psychotherapist in Ontario, Canada. In order to get more information about me, you may check my Instagram account, YouTube, or my other podcasts via the links in description. You are listening to the 40th episode of Tabling Thoughts podcast published in October 2025. This episode is the fourth and final part of the Closeness versus Codependence series. So far, we have explored the difference between closeness and codependence and why it's so easy to blur the two. On the surface, both can look like love, caring, showing up, giving your time, but deep down, they feel worlds apart. Closeness nourishes, codependence drains. Closeness is mutual. Both people can grow, say no, and still feel safe. Codependence is one sided. Your worth depends on someone else's needs or approval. We talked about the three key contrasts: energy, freedom, and boundaries. Closeness fills you up, codependence empties your energy. Closeness allows independence. Codependence feels like a trap. Closeness respects your boundaries. Codependence erases them. And we explored the roots of codependence, how early attachment, family roles, and cultural conditioning teach us that love equals sacrifice and that being needed means being worthy. We also touched on how seductive it can feel to be indispensable even when that need quietly erases us. In this episode, we are gonna talk about reflections and practical steps. Now that we unpacked what closeness is, what dependence looks like, and where it comes from, I want to bring it back to you, your daily life, your relationships, your choices. Understanding the theory is important, but transformation comes from reflection and practice. Let's start with the signs. How do you know if you might be leaning into codependence rather than healthy closeness? One sign is you feel guilty when you say no. Think about that. Healthy closeness allows you to say no, to set limits, to honor your energy. But if every time you set a boundary, you feel like you are betraying someone, if guilt creeps in immediately, that's often a sign of codependence because guilt becomes the glue that keeps obligation in place. Another sign is when your mood depends on the other person's mood. If they're happy, you're relieved. If they're upset, you spiral. If they withdraw, you panic. In closeness, we are influenced by each other, yes, but we do not lose ourselves. In codependence, on the other hand, the other person's emotions hijack your entire nervous system. You stop being a separate self and start being a mirror of them. A third sign is you avoid conflict to keep the peace. You bite your tongue. You pretend you're okay. You agree when you don't mean it. Because conflict feels dangerous. Because rocking the boat feels like it will sink the ship. But real closeness can handle conflict. It can hold tension and still survive. Avoidance, on the other hand, signals that the relationship is fragile, and fragility often hides codependence. Take a moment here and just scan your relationships. Do you recognize any of these signs in yourself? Do you feel guilt every time you prioritize yourself? Do you find your mood hijacked by the people closest to you? Do you swallow your voice to keep things calm? If so, you are not alone. These patterns are common and they don't make you weak or broken. They make you human, shaped by the rules and beliefs you have carried for years. Here is the hopeful part. You can begin to shift. You can take small steps toward healthier closeness, the kind that nourishes rather than drains. The first step is to notice when you are rescuing instead of relating. This means catching yourself in those moments where you are about to jump in and fix, when you are about to carry someone else's load, when you are about to silence your truth so they won't be uncomfortable. Pause and ask, am I relating to this person or am I rescuing them? Am I connecting or am I controlling? That awareness alone begins to loosen the grip of codependence. The second step is to practice micro boundaries. You don't have to start with big dramatic declaration. You can begin small. For instance, instead of saying yes immediately when someone asks for something, say, let me think about it. That simple phrase creates space between request and response. It gives you time to check in with yourself. Do I really want to do this? Or am I saying yes out of fear or guilt? Micro boundaries are powerful because they build your capacity to choose rather than to react. The third step, my friends, is to build self worth outside of being needed. This one takes time, but it's essential. Ask yourself, who am I when I'm not fixing? Who am I when I'm not rescuing? What brings me joy just for me? What makes me feel valuable outside of service? This might mean exploring hobbies, nurturing friendships where you can just be, or reconnecting with dreams you have put on hold. The more you root your worth in who you are, not in what you provide, the freer you become. And I want to remind you, healing from codependence is not about rejecting closeness. It's not. It's about reclaiming the kind of closeness that is healthy, balanced, and reciprocal. It's about moving from obligation to choice, from fear to trust, from disappearing to being fully seen. So here is my reflection prompt for you this week. As you move through your relationships, big and small, ask yourself, am I choosing closeness or am I choosing to disappear so someone else can stay comfortable? Sit with that question. Write about it in your journal. Notice how your body responds when you ask it. Sometimes the truth, my friends, will feel light. Sometimes it will sting. But both are invitations to grow. Because the truth is, you deserve relationships where you can show up fully. You deserve love that energizes you, not love that depletes you. You deserve a closeness that makes room for your voice, your boundaries, your dreams. And if you have been living in codependence, know this: you are not doomed to stay there. These patterns were learned, and that means they can be unlearned. You can practice new ways of being step by step. You can slowly teach yourself that saying no doesn't mean rejection, that conflict doesn't mean collapse, that your worth is not tied to being indispensable. The journey from codependence to closeness is a journey of remembering yourself, remembering that your needs matter, remembering that love should never erase you, remembering that the healthiest relationships are the ones where both people can breathe. So, my friends, as we close this episode, I want to leave you with this affirmation. My worth is not in how much I give. My worth is not in how much I fix. My worth is in who I am. I deserve closeness that allows me to be fully me. Thank you for being here, for reflecting, for daring to look at patterns that are often uncomfortable to face. Remember, my friends, every small shift you make toward healthier closeness is a radical act of love for yourself and for the people who truly care about you. Until next time, take a deep breath, hold space for yourself, and keep choosing connections that nourish instead of drain. Because you are worthy of love that feels like freedom.